truly owned the ability to be a real contract killer. By God, I was gonna do it. Yeah.
I love more than pulling my gum out. Yeah, so one of these days, folks, we're going to work on the timing here. Um, but anyway, yeah, so I'm going to try and do this real quick. You guys are probably looking at the title and you're thinking to yourself, whoa, wait a second. Whoa, wait a second. Hold on just 1 minute. I thought you were going to Charlottesville to get your liver checked. Well, I did. I did. In fact, the last time that we talked, the last time I live streamed, I begged and pleaded and cajoled and manipulated each and every one of you fine people, whoever was there before. Maybe some of you weren't, whatever. But if you were there, you know how desperate I was to stay up so I wouldn't be late for my appointment so I could find out the verdict on what was going on with me, my internal organs, and all that other good stuff. So, as I do, you got to understand, this was like baby's day out. You know, I haven't really been out in the wild much. I just was able to maybe reacquire my license about a week ago. Boom. Now I'm driving. All of a sudden, you know, I haven't been driving at all for months. Really since January because of my quarantine, not just self-imposed, but imposed by medical professionals who know a lot more about this stuff than I do. Then COVID hit, and they knew a lot more about this stuff than I do, they say. Depends on who you listen to. But anyway, we got to the point where I do have and did have a potentially life-threatening illness that for the longest time was a mystery. And ultimately, we figured out, you know, what it was, or at least they figured out what it was, and they told me about it. And so the next step was to just kind of wait it out. And I think I explained it to you that the treatment protocol for this very, 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 very rare viral illness was nothing. Well, okay, it was a couple of things. Don't drink, don't do drugs, stay away from processed food, keep your stress levels low, always drink lots of water, and take the most every day. No, seriously, it was just a road trip. I literally left. We ended the chat, I want to say somewhere around 6:45 a.m., right? It's a 2-hour drive. Ran into some traffic. I have to check in there at 9 o'clock in the morning. You'll see in the video tomorrow. I wanted to have it ready for tonight, but I didn't have it ready for tonight, so whatever. That video is going to be tomorrow, and that's going to be my trip to Charlottesville. And I guess I got to come up with something that's, you know what's really hard with YouTube? I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but coming up with, I always think of myself as a reasonably clever guy. But you know, one thing I'm not good at, and never have been good at, is economy of speech. If there's one thing that I'm always guilty of, it's probably just talking too damn much, or writing too damn much, or just doing too damn much. So, you know, coming up with these one-sentence titles that are intriguing enough to get people to sort of tune in is tough, without just being a compulsive liar, without just making shit up out of thin air. It is hard. It is hard. If I had the money, if I was like one of these big YouTuber guys or gals or whatevers, I would probably pay someone to just come up with titles for videos and live stream Q&As. So anyway, so I went to Charlottesville, and I was running late. And of course I had to, you know, bend the laws of not just gravity, but my Volvo wagon in order to get there. But I did get there. And what I didn't realize, here's the thing. So from 9 a.m. to noon, right? That was kind of the hospital experience. They didn't admit me. As you can see, I'm here, so I can't really project the mystery there, right? So they didn't admit me. I got out 12:30. And I thought to myself, hold on a second, Charlottesville, Virginia. It didn't even occur to me until I got out of the hospital that this is the place where the guy drove the truck into the crowd, where the KKK rally was, Antifa, where all this whole powder keg of racial tension, it all started right there. I believe August 12th, August 11th, 2017. Am I right? Something like that? So we're almost on just about the third anniversary of this thing. And hey, let me know real quick, because I didn't do any live stream. This was spur of the moment, seat of my pants. Is this smooth at all? Is my, whoa, shit, man. What the, oh, I'm sorry. I thought, doesn't it look like something's on fire? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. It looks, when I look at the screen, it looks like something is on fire underneath my bed. Is that just my imagination playing tricks on me? Seriously. So look, real quick about the hospital. I'm gonna do the whole, I tried kind of a vlog, okay? It's like my first attempt at a vlog, and it's my first attempt at a video around 10 minutes long. One thing that I've been guilty of since I've started this channel or rebooted this channel a few weeks ago, I need to stop waving my hands in front of the screen. That kind of fucks shit up, doesn't it? I'm sorry. I'm a big hand talker. You'll have to forgive me. So, every video I've made, every live stream has been 3 hours or more. Every video I've made has been at least 30 minutes or longer. I think the Pee Wee video was an hour? I think it was an hour. Or 58 minutes. It was crazy how long. Crazy how long the video was. So, and of course you guys would like notifications for these live streams. I've never done one once. I'm like, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to live stream. Let's put it together. Here's a link. 10 minutes later, let's just get rolling. I mean, this is quintessential me. I am the worst in the world, in the business, in life, in prison, in addiction recovery, whatever you want to call it. I've always been the absolute worst at planning things out. I am not a calculated person. I am the 100% fly by the seat of my pants. You never know what you're going to get. It's a roller coaster every day. Just imagine what it's like to be me, to be in here. It's a crazy place. It's a crazy place to be. So anyway, let's get back to Charlottesville. I go to the hospital, and I feel pretty confident. You get there, and I've been there a few times, and it's a 2-hour drive. It's a long way away. But these are supposedly the best in the business, at least around here, at least with the health insurance that I have, which, oh, by the way, my health insurance isn't private anymore because I'm not currently employed because of COVID. Because of rhabdomyolysis, and because of, and I don't know if I've mentioned it on the live stream. I do mention it in the video tomorrow, which it's 90% done. I'd love to get to the point where I can just shoot this thing and then the next day be done with it. But, we always want to tinker with stuff, and we always make it a little bit better. I don't know. My feeling about it is this. It's like when it's ready, we'll release it into the wild. But I think you guys can appreciate once you see this that I kind of let it go a little bit. Not so precise, not such a control freak. I'm trying to chill out. I'm trying to relax just a little bit. It's hard. I'm not a very relaxed individual. I mean, this is me all the time. People always say, dude, whatever you're on, get off of it! Get off of it! It is killing you! And I tell them, look, I'm not on anything. Probation officer says, listen, you probably need a little bit of help. I mean, I appreciate, how much you're talking, how much you're telling me. Most people, most inmates, certainly most convicts. And my probation officer now, he's like, man, you've really got it together. you know, after I sort of explain some things. But initially, these people usually are like, you know, that drug test that I was kind of like going to look a little bit over here and not, you know, so much like stare at your junk. Like, I'm going to look at that thing like it's mine, or it's like something that I want. And so, boom. They find out, oh, wow, you're clean. You're 100% clean. Who knew? And everybody, my friends, my family, up until I became a completely full-blown, you know, addict and alcoholic, they were like, look, if you're not on drugs, if this is you not on drugs, please do us all a big favor. Get on some drugs. Please do us all a favor. Spare us our sanity if you're not going to spare yourself. So anyway, the problem with me, you give me a camera and some film gear, a car, and I don't have to be back at a certain time, there is no telling what I'm liable to get into. So this trip that was going to end at 12:30, which, oh, got to tell you, this matters. It's important. This liver thing isn't completely resolved, and I actually did a video. I have footage of the phlebotomist. I have footage of the doctor. I have footage of the technician, the person that types in, does the vitals and everything. Now, normally my blood pressure, I guess I really was nervous. I was convincing myself that I wasn't because I didn't. Yeah, I mean, of course I'm concerned. This could be it. This was like the final verdict. It ultimately ended up being what it was, and you'll see. But they ran the vitals, and I felt like, okay, I feel perfectly fine. I've done a 3.5-hour live stream. Yes, I've driven 2 hours after that. Yes, I've stayed up all night the night before. But I felt okay. My blood pressure's always been 120/80, pulse rate around 50, weight around 175, except until I went through all this other stuff. I get on the scale. Yeah, I'm 165 with a bunch of stuff on. So I'm probably about 160. My blood pressure was 140 something over 100, and my pulse rate was bing, 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 right at 99. I got right under the triple digits, but just barely. So I have to say, I don't think I was really the picture of health the way I thought that I was. So I don't know if I've just been overly stressed out. And I have been, you know, because this is new for me, and I hope that you guys give me a little bit of slack. Because I've been live streaming so much lately, and it's because people, addicts in particular, because those are the type of people I wanted to feature on my channel, recovering, mostly, recovered, possibly, but sometimes in active addiction. But here's the thing about addicts. They're inherently selfish people in a lot of cases. They become, once they get through the various stages of recovery, ideally, a lot of times they become the opposite of that. The opposite of selfish. The most empathetic and sensitive people you can possibly imagine. And I feel like I'm kind of in that zone. And that's another thing that prevents me from uploading as much, is because I spend so much time, and some of you guys are in this chat, I spend so much time, and I'm going to recognize everyone who donated. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. I'm showing you receipts. I'm going to tell you some of the things that I got and how it's going to help me streamline the process and give you guys higher quality stuff. Because as I said, I want this to be as interactive an experience as possible, not just for you. I mean, yeah, I care about you and I want you guys to succeed, and I'd like you to learn some stuff, or maybe just, you know, wait for the car crash. Whatever your interest or motivation is in watching me do whatever it is that I do, I'm okay with that. You want to troll me? Cool. I'm not going to block you. I'm not going to ban you. I'm not going to kick you out. You want to hang with me and go along on this little journey? Well, that's even better. And of course, I'm not going to block you, ban you, or do anything like that if that's what your motivation is. But even if you do, I want to make it very clear that a long time ago when I was in this business, and I told somebody this maybe last time I did a live stream, is that I will obviously recognize you if you help out the channel financially. You're not helping me out. I mean, you are, because you're allowing me to express my vision. And I do have a very distinct vision. It just, Sometimes it comes into focus. Sometimes I lose focus. You have to understand the ADHD is very strong with me and always has been, which is a very interesting topic as well, which is ADHD and addiction and how one feeds the other. And how the brain chemistry and physical chemistry of somebody with a severe case of ADHD, for instance, different drugs have different interactions. Specifically, cocaine, methamphetamines, all that stuff. So anyway, I'm getting a little too far afield. And sometimes I need you guys to help me come back to the center. Sean Adonis, I know I've actually seen your comments multiple times. Want to see the car crash. Hey, look, if it happens, I hope you're around to see it. I hope you get what you want, Sean. I don't even believe you, honestly. I've seen you comment so many times on my live streams and in the comment sections of my videos, or our videos, that I know that you fuck with me dumb hard, even if you don't allow yourself to say it out loud. It's okay, I understand. You love me, even if you don't love yourself. But hopefully, if you stick around, Sean Adonis, we'll get you to that point where we can sort of lift up your self-esteem, have a little more self-respect, not freaking type in all caps like an autistic fucktard. I've got hope in you. I have hope in you and everyone else, just like I have hope in myself. So anyway, like I said, if you give me a camera and you give me a car and you give me time and not a curfew, you never know what you're going to run into. So I thought, hey, 12:30, I'm leaving. But here we are in Charlottesville. Wow, this place was crazy 3 years ago. You had the KKK, you had the Antifa, you had the guy in the Dodge Challenger or Charger, whatever it was, ramming people in the middle of the street. Which he, oh, by the way, is doing life in prison. So I went back to get some footage of the sites. It's a very old city. There's a lot of money there, and there's a lot of cool monuments. And what's interesting about it, there's a lot of conflict in these monuments. You know, because, and it really represents, it's kind of a, I don't know, microcosm of what's happening in America. On one hand, you have monuments to the eradication and enslavement of American Indians. You also have a city that's not so far away from the Confederate capital, let me just start talking to people. I ran into this girl. She's wearing a gas mask. I said, honey, excuse me for a minute. She was very young, maybe 20, 21, 22. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. I'm not interested in you, but I am interested in the gas mask and why you're wearing it. And she gave me, an explanation. She was a good sport about it and everything. And she had a reason. I don't think it was really comprehensible. But she was very sweet and moved on. It just became like that kind of thing. Then I saw a guy wearing a sign that said, even though I'm a PhD, it doesn't mean the police. I have to remember exactly what he said. I did an interview with this guy. So look, I've got the experience of me going to Charlottesville. Then the next part of it is an African-American gentleman named Elliott. And I want to see exactly how it kind of comes together. It's very simply shot. It was spur of the moment. I think there was even a fingerprint on the lens, so there was a little bit of a smudge there, and it drove me bananas. I didn't see it until later. My friend who was helping me out, I don't have but just the two hands, the one mouth, the giant gaping nostrils, the forehead like a runway. That's all I have. Oh, and I've got the beard. But anyhow, so we struck up a conversation, and I'll tell you why. Why? Because I thought it was interesting. Here is this person that's claiming to have a PhD in environmental engineering science, I believe. And I thought to myself, well, this can't be real. He didn't really want to talk to me. He just wanted to walk around with a sign. And he was protesting the police and protesting police's treatment of black people, people of color. And so I wanted to talk to him in a completely objective way and allow him to tell his story, why he's doing what he's doing, why he's taken off of work as a doctor. Or he is a doctor. He has a PhD. I checked it out. It's real. He even has a YouTube channel. He didn't tell me anything about this, but of course I did a little research. I'm going to do a little bit of background on who I'm dealing with, right? Because if they say something, they claim something. If there's a way for me to verify it, I'd like to know what I'm getting into before I just put it on YouTube, put it on the internet. I mean, that's the responsible thing to do, right? So very rarely would I ever be in a situation where I would not release someone's full name. Maybe it would be maybe their prison name. Maybe. But I don't do blurred faces here, and I don't pay money. So if you want to tell your side of the story of whatever it is that you're involved in, or you want me to shoot you doing whatever it is that you're doing, I have an interest in what you're doing. You have to have an interest in what I'm doing. We have a mutual shared interest. Let's make something interesting and let's let people figure it out. That's the goal. In order for me to be objective, I have to not, and in order for them to be real, the more money you pay these people, and then they just tell you what they think you want to hear. You know, now they have an agenda, I have an agenda. Now I want to get as much out of this person as I possibly can because I paid you money, and damn it, you owe me. But no, if you get angry because I ask you a question, because I'm not mincing words with anybody. You know, you're either going to deal with me or you're going to walk away or you're going to do something else. And that's okay. I can take it. You know, if you haul off and KTFO me, who knows? Maybe I deserved it. But I'm willing to take that chance. I want to get on that edge to get you material and get myself material that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in puff pieces and bullshit. So anyway, so I did this. It was interesting to me. He's wearing the sign and he's in Charlottesville, and it was a fascinating deal, and it was a very surprising interview. Honestly, it was really enlightening, and I want to give it to you in as raw a way as I possibly can. So there's that. Then I run into a gentleman named Justin. I go to Sheetz. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. It's kind of like a Wawa or maybe a Quick Trip. Not a 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven is way too, you know, they have the microwavable food, the stuff on the rollers, the crackhead cashiers. And look, I mean, I'm just saying the level of customer service, no offense, I'll never be sponsored by 7-Eleven. The level of customer service at 7-Eleven is not what you're going to get at Wawa. The quality of food is not what you're going to get at Wawa, Sheetz, Quick Trip, etc. Coffee, everything else. I'm not saying 7-Eleven. Look, I go to 7-Eleven a lot. I have a 7-Eleven rewards card. Again, I'm sure I just killed myself in terms of sponsorships with 7-Eleven. Not that was ever on the table, but it's definitely off the table for life now. And that's okay, because that's how I feel about it. Fuck it, right? So, I run into this guy, Justin. He looks like, you know what a caddy is? I had to think about this earlier. I was like, who are the guys that carry around, this is how much golf this is how much golf I be doing, right? I'm like, who is the guy that carries the golf bag, you know, just like schlepping it around? And I asked somebody this, and they said, well, what, you mean a golf cart? No, oh, that's true. Like, where do you go and they carry, I guess you have to go to like a really like deluxe country club to get the guy, sort of the club slave, the indentured driver servant, the ball washer. So anyway, This guy looked like he was a caddy off of a golf course that just went a little sideways. Just took a left turn there, maybe took a right turn over there, maybe drove off a cliff over there. But he was actually pretty well spoken. And he was sitting down, he was telling me, I said, well, what's going on with you? Because I was sat down, I ate my little, I think it was an egg white little sandwich thing. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm sitting there talking to him. People come out and they're like, you have to stop loitering here. And I said to myself, loitering? I just bought food and drinks from your place, which this was Wawa. And it happens to be right there, right on University Boulevard or whatever it is in Charlottesville, Virginia, University of Virginia. And they're telling me I'm loitering, I need to leave. I guess they forgot, or maybe this person, I don't think they saw me buy the food. They see the beard. I'm sweating balls because I'm lugging around a 20-pound tripod and camera gear. And I'm just kind of going wherever the day takes me. And it took me to Justin, right? So, turns out, as soon as he tells me, a couple walks by with a dog. It looks like I don't know, like a Brittany Spaniel or something, like a little Cocker Spaniel type thing, but with more color, right? Whatever the hell that thing's called. And he says, that's the fourth time they've walked by. I said, well, you know, it's a university town. People be walking. There's a lot of streets. There's a lot of shops on the street, okay? What's the big deal? He said, but it's the fourth different dog. I said, oh, whoa, wait a second. The fourth different dog? Well, maybe they're dog walkers. He says, no, they're watching me. I said, what? They're watching you? Watching you do what? He's like, the feds have been stinging. They're doing a sting operation. They've been following me around for months. And hold on a second, so they're posing as dog walker people? A dog walker couple? Because really, would a couple walk dogs? That seems like that would be very expensive. I mean, maybe he just wants company, I'm not sure. But a man and a woman, about the same age, good-looking couple, as far as it goes. You know, I'm not into key parties or anything crazy like that. Don't get it twisted. But they're walking this little Cocker Spaniel thing. That's a hell of a ruse, man, to get a guy who... And I said, hey, Justin, what are you doing, man? Are you pushing a lot of weight out here? I mean, you must be a high roller, man. You must be a real OG in the game. You must be slinging birds out this motherfucker. He's like, no, I just got out of a psychiatric hospital. And I'm not saying all this to make fun of him. What I'm saying, the reason I'm telling you all of this is this is what this drug has done to him. He's turned his back on society. I think he grew up in a messed up family. I did a big interview with him and got his story. And I said, listen, man, and I just got off the phone with someone right before this live stream. It kind of motivated me to do it because I'm trying to get him to Winchester, which is where I live and where I got clean, ultimately. And there's a great sober living community here. And I lived in an Oxford house for 7-8 months before I had to go back to jail. And then I came back, I lived on my own, but whatever. I know a lot of people here, and just the recovery community in general is pretty close to A1. I mean, it has its ups and downs. It has its ebbs and flows. There might be a little too much gossip. COVID has been rough on everybody because a lot of people are picking up white chips. I went to a meeting the other day, about a week ago, and the social distancing was in place. We had been doing Zoom meetings before this. There were probably maybe 20 people at the meeting. And out of 20, 7 or 8, I didn't count, but it was at least 7 or 8 picked up white chips. And white chips are the surrender chips. You pick up this white chip actually in AA, it's a silver chip, I believe. I don't know. It's been a while since I've picked up but anyway, so you pick up the original, the surrender chip, which is, I want to make a commitment to staying sober. And that's it. And then as you progress, you get 30 days, you'll have 30. But anyway, so the point of it is that these were people in the program, a lot of them I knew, and they had all around the same time, but not with each other. That's how tough it is right now on this. COVID, the news, everything else. It is a breeding ground for people that have addiction and mental health issues who aren't entirely stable financially and everywhere else. Every way else. So psychologically, spiritually, all that stuff. And so that's a hell of a percentage. What is that, 40%? 35, 40% of the people in this room decided not only to pick up these white chips, but they do it. It takes a lot of humility. And most of these people weren't required to do this by anyone. I know they weren't. They didn't have pending legal stuff. Some of them do. One of them in particular has something very serious. But at least half of them didn't. They did it because they wanted to. They did it because they felt like their life depended on it. But so it's not just picking up the chip. Now, you could conceivably do it on the low when no one's looking. But these people did it in front of everyone. And you're just telling everyone, hey, look, I fucked up. I wanted to do this thing, but this other thing pulled me so hard that despite my best intentions, it got me. And I've been there. That's a very, very, very tough place to be. And a lot of times I would not pick up that chip. Even if I did get the 30 days, I wouldn't pick up that initial chip because I was too embarrassed to do it. So my hat's off to these people because that's a very hard thing to do. I would just pick up the 30 and, hey, everybody knows, just assume whatever. Obviously, they can do the math. Well, 30 days prior to this, Yanni was getting high or he's getting drunk. Doesn't take a team of monkeys working around the clock to figure that out, right? So they did it the right way. I've done it the wrong way. I've done it the right way as well, but whatever. The point of it is that, and those are the people that made it to the meeting. Typically, this meeting has 40, 50, 60 people in it. But because of COVID, not as many people are going. And because of COVID, the chairs are so far apart, right? 6 feet, right? Masks, the whole bit. So how many are really falling off that we don't see? The ones that don't pick up the chips, the ones that don't make it to the meetings. The number is high. Too high. But it's a reminder, a huge reminder for me, of how close, what a dangerous, dangerous game it is to get too close to the fire. And I say all that to say this. Now here I am documenting Justin, who's right at this moment, I'm quite sure, is in a trap house on meth because that's where I dropped him off. Now, to be honest, to be perfectly honest, I did buy him cigarettes. I offered him food. Of course, he wasn't hungry because you don't get real hungry on meth. The appetite, the hunger pangs aren't very intense. So I said, listen, man, I'll do what I can do. I don't have the money to pay for your rehab. He's not getting pandemic unemployment assistance. I don't think anyone's getting that anyway. He's not getting unemployment. He said he did have a job at some point. He seemed to be very honest and transparent, but of course he was still a little high. It took me some hours to convince him. And he kind of came to the conclusion and idea on his own with my commitment that I'd do whatever I could to help him out. Now, a lot of people would say, well, the next step is to do a GoFundMe for Justin. Well, Justin doesn't need money, right? I mean, Justin needs structure. He needs at least a month or two to not have to worry about anything. That's the wonderful thing about rehab is you go to rehab, if you do it right, you let all the other stuff go. I got legal problems. Of course, I'm going to worry about them because I've been there. I did that last year or a year and a half ago, whenever it was. No, it was 2 years ago. Jesus Christ, time flies by. And of course, you're worried about it. You know, like me personally, I'm on furlough. I don't know if I'm going to get a bond. You never know what you're going to deal with when you deal with that judge. It could be the day off. It could be a different judge. It could be you got a bad report from the facility and you didn't know about it, or maybe you did know about it. In any case, anything can happen. When you put your life in the hands of the criminal justice system, they have all the power, all the control. And for those of us, for the most part, unless we're the elite billionaires of the world, I'm not, you're probably not either. If you are in here, I sure could use a Sony a7S III. And go ahead and throw that 2470 G Master on there. Yeah. And I'll take that 12 to 24 while you're at it. I'm not asking for much. Just the a7S III, those two lenses, I'm good to go. You want to throw a new, iMac 5K, iMac Pro in there, that's cool too. I'm not going to argue with you. But in any case, I'm still very dehydrated. Part of the thing with the liver. So, again, like I told you guys, I'm only now getting okay with, and I appreciate it. I'm going to go through here I'm going to go through it here and do a little bit of a Q&A, recognize the people who've helped me out. I do need to cut this short. I'm not trying to do a 3-hour live stream tonight because I have obligations to people in my life that just haven't seen me very much. And I know it's 1:30 in the morning here, but money and love never sleep. Actually, money does sleep, but love doesn't sleep. You have to take care of your own, right? So what to do? I'm going to try and maybe work out some kind of thing with a scholarship program. I'd like to talk to the director of the local recovery facility that I went to and see if there's anything that can be done. Maybe if the willingness is there, and I believe it is, and I have this on camera, because it's one thing to just document somebody getting high, living in the streets. It's another thing to get them to do everything that you can to get them to be honest with themselves, which is difficult to do when you're high. I did my very best under a lot of stress on a hot day with not much sleep and really high blood pressure and a ridiculous pulse rate, all that stuff. But we'll see how it came out. So that's really video number 3. So you've got going to Charlottesville, the protester, Elliott, and then Justin, the meth addict who just wants a chance. And I hated to drop him off there. I hated to, and you'd see it there. It killed me. This is where he wanted to go. I said, where do you sleep? He said, well, mostly I sleep at this trap house. There's an old man who lives there. He kind of helps him out with meth. I don't want to cast any aspersions about what else might be going on. I don't know. He said it's a madhouse. It's crazy. It's nuts. He doesn't know what he can do to get out. It's real easy to sit back there in your white ivory tower and say, well, rub some dirt on it, get back in the game, go get a job. But he's like, look, the water doesn't even work at this place. I can't even shower. And most of the time, half the time, I can't even stay there. So I'd like to go back at some point and check up on him. I do have his information on Facebook. And I'm hoping to get in touch with him tomorrow. I sent him a message. I haven't heard back from him yet. But it's a touching story. It's a very real story. This guy is really pretty clean cut. I think with a shower and with a change of clothes, really, even without it, he looks pretty presentable. And more presentable than me. Hell, they're the ones that wanted me off their property, Wawa. That's kind of how I got on this story in the first place, right? And so then the third thing was, I ran into Brent. He looked at me, I looked at him, I saw the tattoo on his face, and I said, well, hell, I'm already here. Why not just... This is like the 4th or 5th person I talked to. The gas mask girl, the protester. The third one, of course, was Justin. But now, Suboxone babies is where this is going. And to be honest with you, I had no idea this was a thing. I don't know why I didn't think about it. Because, of course, it makes perfect sense. So we had a debate about Suboxone versus methadone, which is going to be an entirely different video separate from Brett or Brent. I almost forget the name. I think it's Brent. Maybe it's Brett. I don't know. But his son's 4 days old. His wife is at the medical center at the hospital, and she takes Suboxone. The baby, she's been taking Suboxone the entire time she's pregnant. The child, Bear is his name, 4 days old, boy, is having Suboxone withdrawals right now. I think she was due to be released in a couple of days, and in theory, him as well. It said that he was doing a lot better. But boy, that's a tough way to start out, huh? Can you imagine? Will his life be permanently affected because of that? Will he have a propensity for drug addiction after that? I just happened to look it up because, again, I didn't know it was a thing. It all made sense to me as soon as I heard it because, of course. I looked at some of the treatment options. Apparently, they give the mother methadone during delivery sometimes, and then to mitigate the withdrawals. And even the baby as well. I'm like, I don't know. I really need to do a deeper dive when I do the video. I want to do a deeper dive into the science, read some medical journals, read some journalist takes on it, and get to the bottom of what's going on. Because, of course, it makes perfect sense. I mean, you get hooked on Suboxone, even if it isn't a typical opioid, it still does the same thing to the receptors. Which is really, I mean, let's be real. In prison, this is the most highly trafficked drug in prison right now. Why? What else can you conceal like a strip of Suboxone? If you've ever seen one, they're razor thin. They're like this high, this long. So we're talking about what? 3/4 of an inch wide by 1/4 of an inch? Paper thin? Not even paper thin. It's thinner than that. You can see through it. It's translucent. It's so thin. You could literally take 1/8 of this strip if you had no tolerance whatsoever. And it'd be like almost like doing heroin. I know because I've done it. I've done it in prison. The same prison I've mentioned many times, Indian Creek. I did it there. Not much, but I did it a few times. And all you need, like I said, is 1/8 of a strip. They cost, you get a prescription, you have insurance, you're paying $30, $35 or whatever. Maybe it's a little more depending on your insurance, maybe $100 a month for this stuff. Maybe it's $200. They are going in this area now, $30 a strip. It's mind blowing. I hadn't done any research on this stuff in a while, but I started talking to some people around town and even in Charlottesville. Because, ultimately what happens with this stuff, it's a very tricky thing, right? Suboxone, right? So you don't go through heroin withdrawals, and that's good. But then what? Now you're going through Suboxone withdrawals. Now what Suboxone does is it basically covers the opiate receptors in your brain and prevents you from getting high on heroin. But guess what? Here's the problem. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about Suboxone because there is a place, there is a right person and it definitely does have a place. But I have mixed emotions about the cold turkey or the taper versus the let's be on Suboxone for 2 or 3 years. 16, 32 milligrams of Suboxone. You do that for a year or two, that's going to be a hell of a taper. You take methadone, same thing. A lot of people start off 50 milligrams and they just keep going up. And the game is to keep going up until you get to the point where you're high. So you'll be lying to the doctor and you'll say, look, doc, I've got restless leg syndrome. I'm sweating. I'm shitting on myself. I'm throwing up everywhere. Are you sick? Well, dope sick. I'm not sick. So she ups the dose. What else can or he ups the dose? You can't investigate every single person, right? At some point, you just kind of have to take somebody at their word. I mean, these are doctors after all. They're not law enforcement officers. So it all gets down to this. How honest are you with yourself? Because if you're deceiving yourself, well, all of this stuff can be manipulated. It can be repurposed, repackaged, sold. You're selling to someone else, you're selling it to yourself. But ultimately, you're selling yourself a bill of goods that ain't no good. You're selling yourself a life of heartache, suffering, and pain. I heard a woman tonight in a meeting. I went to a meeting. I had to do it. I hadn't been to one in a couple of days. 8:15 on Sunday night. They just opened up, I think, about a month ago. Now I'm pretty much clear to be around people. I'm clear to go back and work. As of yesterday. So I heard a woman, I know her, and in fact, her husband used to be my sponsor. And I was talking about maybe switching back to this person being my sponsor again. Because I've honestly gone really without one for a few months. There's a reason for that. Your sponsors relapse too. So his wife, she's also 6 months pregnant. It got me thinking about this whole Suboxone withdrawal thing. And here she is with 8 years sober. And maybe this is something I should share on camera because it might give you the wrong idea of what sobriety is all about. But she's at the point where she does not, and has not for years, thought about, it's not even a calculation that she makes in her head. It's not even a possibility. It's not a variable. It's not even part of the equation. Getting high, getting drunk, getting loaded, doing whatever, not even part of the deal. Not in her head. But she says, today I don't feel grateful really for anything. Now, parents want to come over to their house. I don't want to be bored. I'm complaining all the time. I feel terrible. She's 6 months pregnant. I don't believe she's had any children before. I could be wrong. I think this probably is her first. I could be wrong about that. But she's just very upfront about the selfish nature of addiction. And just because you get clean doesn't mean that all goes away. And about the anxiety. Really hit home with me today. She was sharing this thing about anxiety. And most people know me that are my friends, or even not my friends, guys I've been locked up with, people I work with. They're like, oh man, that Yanni, boy, he's a really outgoing guy. Loves entertaining a crowd. And I do. There's something about being in front of a large group of people or delivering a presentation. Not like this. This is different. I feel like this is kind of an intimate conversation amongst friends. And so honestly, I'm a little more uncomfortable than I otherwise would be. If I was selling you something, I'd be hyper-focused and I know exactly what I'm doing. But now I'm stumbling over my words a little bit. Sometimes I get a little tripped up because this is just me. I'm not playing a character. So she started mentioning how she started in college and in high school. She felt so much anxiety being around large groups of people that what started off as this fun thing, she started convincing herself that she was this better version of herself, more relaxed, funnier, more outgoing, looser, and I don't mean necessarily, but more comfortable. Turns out, she wasn't. She was even worse. She just constantly created a spectacle of herself. People would tell her the stories and they, oh, you're not going to believe it. And I've heard this a million times. Dude, man, Yanni, you're not going to believe I can believe what you did yesterday. Man, when you went out on that balcony and you pissed all over from 3 floors down and you hit that guy in the head, man, that was funny. And I'm like, I just dropped the cup. Wow, that must have been fate. Or whatever. You crashed through that shower door. You walked through that screen door. You hit that guy because he looked at your girlfriend wrong, or you hit on his girlfriend and he flattened you like a pancake, or whatever. Or you got on stage during the Pink Floyd concert, grabbed the mic and said, hey, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the Portsmouth Pavilion. It's good to see you here at the Convocation Center. I'm Yanni Cristo, and Boy, do I have a hell of a show for you tonight. You know what that show consisted of? Me getting thrown off the stage in an ambulance and then assaulting a cop and doing a year in a shithole jail. Portsmouth, VA. What a show. Really brought down the house with that one. Boy, I was so relaxed. I was so loose. I was so comfortable socially. But no, I thought about all this stuff and I thought, boy, in reality, me personally, I've always experienced, I was kind of a late bloomer with partying and all this stuff. Like, I never even tried a drug until I was 18. I never even smoked a cigarette until I was 18. You know, usually you start off a little younger than that. I didn't. I didn't really party. I was never allowed. I lived in a very strict house. They're like, okay, we need the number. You can go to the party, but we're going to have to call the parents first. Well, of course, you know, their parents are out of town. Or they're drunks too, or whatever. So that killed the game there, right? So my high school years, for the most part, were as vanilla as they could possibly be. I just got a message here. I'm sorry, this is just, okay, sorry about that. But it really hit home with me of like how, you know, what the beginning of all this was for me. And I think a lot of it did start with social anxiety and being uncomfortable around people, lots of people, without an agenda, just wanting to have a good time. And because I was a late bloomer, as far as it goes, in a lot of ways, I, you know, just went a little too far. I just couldn't help myself. I mean, day one when I was drinking, I just got drunk. I drank to get drunk almost immediately. I didn't have to think. I didn't have to feel. Nothing really bothered me. I'd hear about it the next day. Boy, that's a hell of a way to live life though, right? You don't even remember it. Doesn't matter what spectacular, outrageous, lunatic shit you did, and I did a lot. If you don't remember it. What kind of life is that you don't remember? All we're doing is building and storing memories as we go. So anyway, let me go ahead and run through this. I wanted to kind of give you a channel update. I'm still working on the Drug Mule interview. I'm trying to get that. He's in Miami. I'm here. And I want to do a live Q&A with him. I want to do an interview with him for about 30 minutes. And maybe I'll just do that. And then the next thing, I'll try and do the live Q&A. I'm just working out the technical snafus with all that stuff, with 2 feeds, and I just don't have the equipment to do it, I don't think, but I'm going to work on it. So there is that. I have the gentleman who's currently in rehab, and I still need to get a little more stuff there. He actually has to turn himself back into jail next Sunday. So he has a week left. So that's 6 videos in the pipeline. And of course, I do have Prison Pedophilia Ring. And I have a couple of addiction-related videos that don't necessarily include interviews. And I am chronicling people, in addition to these people that I've found on the street, who feel comfortable enough to talk to me and tell their story for nothing in return other than, this is what's going on with me, and I need somebody to talk to, and I want to share it. And for whatever reason, I feel comfortable sharing it with you. It's an amazingly powerful thing. So there is all of that, but I have some other, I really want to chronicle people that have been very successful. And I have 4 people in mind right now, right off the bat, that have between 3 and 8 years of sobriety, who are still, most of them are still either late 20s to mid 30s. And then one of them, and I'm pretty sure you might be checking this out, is 46. And I would imagine most of y'all fall into that category. So look, with that out of the way, let's have don't get it twisted. Now, you watch this vlog, and I had a few issues because they wouldn't let me bring the camera, so I had to use the smartphone in the hospital. Some people cared, some people didn't. I left the little Joby extension in the car because I thought it was going to be the camera thing, and then I had to, hand it off to somebody else to put it back in my car. Which made for it wasn't exactly how I wanted it to be, but I had the best time I possibly could doing it. some of the stuff, like I'm not presenting myself to be anything other than who I am. So if you don't like some of the jokes, just, hey, what can I say but tough shit? Maybe you'll like the next one better. There's not a whole lot of cut with this card, I'm here to tell you. So anyway, so I want to recognize, I did mention that I'd give a shout out to the person who had the very best comment with the insert the caption. Because I was going through the footage, I saw this guy, he like gave me this little, I can't even do it. It was so intense. I mean, it looked like, going back and look at it, I mean, like this guy's got bad intentions for me. I mean, he's looking at me like Mike Tyson is going to be looking at Roy Jones Jr. here in a couple of months. Like Stipe looked at DC last night. Bad intentions. Bad intentions. So I don't really have access. I guess I can go through it real quick. But anyway, let's start from the top. I'll get to that in a second. Okay. I'm interested in stuff that's really dealing with this particular topic at hand. I was on Suboxone. Alex O'Rourke says, I was on Suboxone for about 7 months before I went to prison and detoxed from that cold turkey. I was sick for 5 or 6 weeks. Well, so there you go. He was taking Suboxone for 7 months. Went cold turkey, and he was sick for 5 or 6 weeks. Now, a lot of you guys would probably say, well, you deserve that, Alex. That's what you get for getting high. And look, nothing good. I've learned this in life, and I'm sure most of you understand this concept. It took a long time for me to figure this out. But nothing that is so sweet ever, does not have consequences attached to it. You have a luxury car, you're driving a Lambo, guess what? The depreciation, the maintenance on that car, getting the oil changed on that car, having to deal with everybody wanting to touch, look, and take pictures of that car. Some people, it ends up being more trouble than it's worth. You'd be surprised. Of course, most people are like, oh, well, Lamborghini. Here in my garage, knowledge. But in reality, a lot of people avoid those cars who have a lot of money because it's just too much of a hassle. Forget about the maintenance and everything else. It's the attention. So they get something a little stealthier. Like I said, with everything that's great and it seems so attractive, there are always strings attached. And that's true of drugs. It starts out, it's the greatest thing in the world. I was in love from the very beginning. First it was alcohol, then it was weed, then it was cocaine, then it was heroin, then some meth, then back to cocaine, I believe me, I've tried it all. And I've tried everything to get myself off of it. CBD oil, kratom, whatever the hell it's called, Suboxone, methadone. All of that. Every bit of it. I've done it cold turkey. I've done the tapers. I mean, I really have it down to a science. There's even people that have said, look, I'm not doing it cold turkey. What's the best advice you can give me? Now, I'm not going to give you that advice on the internet right now, today, but there are people who've reached out to me personally. And if you ever watch this, I'm sure some of you have, because I deal with a lot of people individually who reach out to me. And I feel like in a lot of cases, I'm not equipped to deal with it, but I do the best I can. First thing I'm going to say is talk to a professional. Second thing I'm going to say is, what are you doing right now? The third thing I'm going to say is, don't beat yourself up over it. Whatever it is that you're doing or have done, the quickest way to get out of it, to turn a corner, is to not live in constant resentment, regret, remorse. Deal with that later. Get clean first, then deal with that. Because you're not equipped to deal with that mentally or psychologically. When you're in active addiction or alcoholism, it's impossible. It will metastasize, and it'll become far bigger than whatever problem you're currently dealing with. I guarantee you that. So there you go. Lex Diamond, I screwed up and took a piece of a sub while having a little oxy in me. While the sickness was something crazy, learned a huge lesson. Yeah, so we'll talk about that in the video. It's called precipitated withdrawal. How great is that? If you time it incorrectly. opiates to Suboxone, Suboxone to opiates. You do it the wrong way. You take it at the wrong time. Immediate sickness. You ever talk about immediate sickness? Anybody in here ever had cotton fever? That's what happens when you take a needle and a little fiber of cotton gets stuck in the little hole in the needle. I'm sure it's called something. I don't know what the medical term is. But instead of just the liquid going into your vein, you also get that little fiber. And boy, that little fiber in your bloodstream creates a lot of problems. Cotton fever. Look it up. Becky G actually made a live stream. Not sure how long I could stay awake. Hey, Becky G, I appreciate you checking in with me. I know you've mentioned this numerous times that you just make these things too late. I'm trying to get to a point where they're a little bit earlier because I've been living my life like Dracula, like a vampire bat. Part of the PTSD from prison is I don't like being around people. I've experienced more social anxiety, and part of that's being sober. I covered this stuff up for so long. You know, maybe the binge using got over it a little bit. You know, being in the car business for a number of years, owning my own business. If I had an agenda or a directive, I mean, I've always enjoyed the company of people as long as it's small. I enjoy the demonstration as long as it's large. But if those two things get out of whack just a little bit, the social anxiety that I have goes through the roof. And now I'm convinced that everyone knows that I'm a convict. And that's part of the reason with the beard. Now, part of it was some other reasons, but I really wanted my inside to match my outside. You know, it wasn't but a year and a half ago, I'm wearing cashmere scarves, ultra deluxe pea coats, $400 shoes, expensive watches, Coach gloves, $300 sunglasses. It was just part of my wardrobe and persona that I built up for myself. I felt like, okay, the nicer I dress, the better I'll feel about myself. And then I started feeling so bad. When I got out of prison, when I got out of prison this time, it just nothing lined up for me. And when I started going through therapy, I didn't enjoy what I was doing anymore. It made me miserable. And all I could think about was just getting out. I have got to. I had a huge panic attack about everything. I have to get out of here. I have to get out of here. I can't keep doing this. And I'm still trying to articulate it in my mind. But I was miserable. I was feeling like I was jumping out of my skin every single minute of every single day. It's a hell of a way to live. So I disconnected from everything once I got sick with the rhabdo. And then, started growing out this beard and kind of dressing up like a bum. I'm wearing an old hat. I've had this hat for 6 years probably. These clothes are old. The shoes, I'm not even wearing any socks. I'm trying to project, or not really project anything, actually. I just want the inside to match the outside. I want those things to be in alignment. I mentioned alignment before. This is very important to me, at least for my personal journey, spiritual and otherwise, recovery or otherwise, is for these things to match. If one is deceiving the other, then I could trick myself up, and I don't want to do that. So, Ohio skater. Plenty of people on subs here in southeastern Ohio. There's plenty of people on subs everywhere. You know, they've gotten off the Subutex thing. Methadone requires a lot of discipline. You got to show up every day for a certain period of time. They do consistent drug tests, which they do with Suboxone as well. But it takes a long time to build up what are called take-homes. And even then, you're still going to have to get your lockbox and show up. And like I said, I did that for over a year. I know what it's all about. And I'll tell you all about it. Lex Diamond checking in from New York City and New Jersey. South Carolina, I've already mentioned that. What up, South Carolina? Nicholas, yo, Alex O'Rourke. You are a talking dude, man. I appreciate it. Don't get me wrong, I do. All right, Nicholas, I've taken subs. Wow, so a lot of you guys in here and gals have experience with this stuff. Nicholas says, I've taken subs a bit too early after using years ago, and it's hell. Done it a couple of times. Nicholas, if you still take them or if you take anything, let me know. We don't know your last name. Tell me. Kelly Wilson says, we love Yanni. Well, we love Kelly Wilson. We at Prison Junkie, and me personally, Yanni Cristo, loves Kelly Wilson. Seriously. RJ Scum says, I took a sub once, puked all over the place. It was orange and had a strange citrus flavor, I think. No, that's it. That's what it is. The first time I actually had Suboxone, it was a tablet. It was just a tablet. And then I don't think they prescribe them as much. In fact, I know they don't. Because you can snort them. There are different ways you can take them. The subs with the strips are easier to manage. They're more efficient to package, prescribe, and everything else. The first time I tried a Suboxone that's a terrible drum roll. I am so sorry. My mouth is so dry. I'm either going to have to take a break or I'm going to have to shut this down early, which isn't early. I'm actually late. You figure it out. But I tried it. I got sentenced in 2007. Either the end of 2006 or 2007. I got sentenced to a year in residential treatment in the state of Georgia. I was on first offender probation, and that residential treatment enabled me to work, have a real job, which I did. I sold cars at a place called Carriage Nissan in Gainesville, Georgia. And I stayed at a place called the House, and Gainesville, Georgia, in a way, was a lot like Winchester, Virginia. It was like the recovery capital of the entire state. There were tons of, I don't think they had Oxford houses there, but they had tons of recovery, sober living type houses. But most of them weren't just one house here, two houses there. Same guy or gal owned one or two. They owned like 10 of them. And they even had a couple places where they bought out entire or built from the ground up hotel-sized buildings, strictly for addicts. There's a lot of money in this business. A lot of money in this business. Rehabs are unbelievably expensive. There's lots of scams people run to rent houses and then become somehow accredited. I know in California this is a huge thing. I actually had a guy reach out to me. I'm not going to say his name. Pretty prominent YouTuber reach out to me and offer me a cut to the tune of $3,000 to $5,000 per person I referred, providing they had the right health insurance to go to rehab. We never spoke again after that. And that was after my personal prison YouTube experience, after I got out of jail, and after I got out of rehab. And didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. But still, that was a bridge too far for me. Way too far. All right. So anyway, the first time I tried one of these tablets was in this sober living center. Not here, but back then in 2006 or 7. I'd have to go back and check. Ultimately, this is a hell of a story. And this is really, I want to tell the stories that launched me into prison because, as I mentioned before, it was much later in my criminal career, I guess. I had been charged with numerous things. I had been convicted of numerous things, most of them very piddly. You're more than welcome to go back and look at it. I'd almost like to do a video where I actually explain each and every single arrest and conviction. God, my God, that'd be like a movie. That'd be like a 10-part miniseries. That'd be like The Last Dance. Or Fargo or Taboo or something. I don't know. That would take forever. It's a lot of stuff. But it's all relatively small. Nonviolent until I got into it with the police a few times. Or did I? Or did they just... Whatever. All right, anyway, so... No orange Gatorade because of the subs. And so I snorted this thing. It was so small. Nothing. About an eighth. A quarter of a quarter. Because a lot of these pills, they designed them for you to be your own chemist and prescriptionist, right? So, whether it's Adderall or Suboxone or Valium or Xanax, they all have the little breaks in there. So that way you can control your own dose, right? You don't need so much today, we'll just break it in half. But, really, They prescribe you what they prescribe you. It's up to you ultimately whether you take it as directed or not, which, I mean, this is a big thing in the AA and NA community. Even Oxford houses in particular, which they now allow people to have Suboxone and methadone and Adderall and Vyvanse. As long as a doctor prescribes it, you can take it. It's a dicey situation because a lot of people don't want that temptation around them. I mean, think about it. If you know your roommate has a lockbox with Suboxone or methadone in it, specifically with methadone, because you can feel just like you would feel on heroin. Believe me, I know, I've done it. You know, some people have taken a lot more, but I took 110 milligrams of methadone for a year. Started a very solid business. Excuse me for one moment. All right, listen, like I said, I have some obligations to attend to. I'm sorry, this is not very professional. Oh, boy. But really? Wow. Yeah. Fuck, man. Sorry. I'm sorry. You know, look, I know that you're watching this. I think it's really kind of messed up that you would say that, you know? Right now. All right, anyway. Sorry about that. Not very professional. No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something personal. Anyway, so I made a promise. I'll just be honest with you. I made a promise to someone who's very near and dear to my heart that we would watch a movie tonight, and it would be around 1 o'clock. And this is what I'm talking about, dealing with the stress of live streaming, making videos, this kind. And not having money, this is completely out of left field. And then personal relationships. And then my recovery, having all this stuff balance. I keep mentioning alignment. I keep trying to be everything to everyone all of the time. You know, but in life, you got to make some choices. You got to make some choices. Listen. I'm sorry, I told you guys up front that it would be relatively short. Everyone who has donated, we've got Nicholas, he donated, Cairo, who had already donated last chat, donated $15. Nicholas with $5. I don't know if anything else. I'm still kind of new to this, so I'm trying to figure it out. There were a lot of angel investors who gave me money through PayPal, or donated money, invested. I like to say investing, not donated. Invested money through PayPal. And so I got a new light. I'll show you the light. It's really cool. I got the step-up rings and the polarization filter, or the ND filter, and I put a receipt like I said I would do. I also got a stabilization system so I can do more on the go, and I'll show that to you as well. Because like I said every single dollar that you guys invest with me and invest in the channel is going to go to creating better content. And I'd like to be able to get to the point where maybe through Patreon, I've thought about this a lot. I don't know if it's Facebook or Patreon or what, because I don't really know that much about social media. I'm sure you're not shocked, or maybe you are. I really don't. I didn't know anything about it other than how to click on a YouTube video. You can even go back to my Facebook history. There's nothing there prior to me getting out of prison. I just didn't do it. I say that's for people with no lives. Or something. I don't know. I just didn't do it. It was kind of intimidating to me, and I didn't need it, I guess. And now I enjoy it in a lot of ways. And it's how we all communicate with each other, especially during times like this. So, James says, secretly live stream yourself watching the movie with your friend. The movie was Into the Spider-Verse. That's what she wanted to watch, Into the Spider, which I've heard is phenomenal. Big was a big comic book fan as a kid. I love comic books, and I like comic book movies to a certain extent. I'm not huge in the Marvel movies. You didn't ask me that. But I like a lot of them. Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps. All right. So anyway, there were a lot of people who didn't make a big deal about it. They even asked me not to mention their names. And are you kidding me? No, I told everyone that I would be completely honest. You're telling me that I'm blasting you on the stream. Real mature. I'm not blasting you on the stream. I'm saying I'm simply apologizing to you for this thing going on a little bit longer than I initially thought. You know I'm not very good at planning things out. I'm not mentioning anybody by name. I just said the movie. I'm not making this up. Listen, I love you to pieces. Please just give me a little bit of rope here. Give me 5 minutes to wrap everything up, and I promise. The Green River, I like the troll. You're not really that funny. Increase your game, up it a little bit. Come with some better jokes, and I'll show you some love. I promise I will. So anyway, listen, I appreciate everybody for chiming in. I'm sorry this went too long. Hopefully I can edit some of this stuff out. Again, life is balance. Align yourself with the spirit, with the universe. Get in the stream. Go with the flow. Don't go backwards. Always go forwards. And make sure that you don't get too hyper fixated and focused on just one thing that everything else slips away. And that could be anything, especially if you're an addict. Drugs, primary, of course. But when you stop doing drugs, then what? Is it YouTube? Is it video games? Is it a girl? Is it a guy? Is it an idea? Is it a cause? Is it politics? Is it art? I think you'll find that if you take a little bit of a break from some of this stuff, when you come back to it, you'll be better at it than you ever were before. So listen, again, I appreciate everyone, sort of chiming in with me. I'll try and do things. I want to be able to do things in a more scheduled manner. And I don't know. Why do I have a Snapchat Bitmoji on YouTube Green? I don't even know what that means. I don't know what that means. Anyway, so listen, have a great night. Have a great rest of your weekend, which is non-existent. It's going to be over. I think it was over 2 hours ago. But depending on where you're at, you might still have some left. And depending where you are, you might be going to work here in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to upload that video tomorrow. Let me know what you think. Be honest with me. And I'll try and crank out the stuff faster. Instead of one video a week and one live stream a week, ultimately I like to get to 2 videos a week, maybe 2 live streams, or 2 videos, or 3 videos and 3 live streams. Let me know what you think about a Patreon where instead of things being a little more heavily edited, and I can just kind of give you raw clips and cuts as I accumulate them, maybe even in real time, in a live stream fashion. It doesn't really fit for YouTube, but it might fit for another format. Give me some advice down below, or give me some advice in the chat after this has been uploaded, and I promise to read it. Typically, I would go through every comment. I'd try and read it. I'd try and go through everything. I really would, but I have responsibilities outside of this platform. But I love each and every one of you guys, the trolls, the donators, the investors is what I call them, the people who are addicts, the people who aren't, the people who deal with addicts. We're all touched by it in a different way. Whether we are, or whether it's somebody we love, or maybe somebody we hate. But Mixed Martial Arts Nightmare says, do Patreon and make it a single price like $10 or $15. That's like Netflix prices. I don't think that I'm as entertaining as Netflix. That's a lot of money. Especially now. The Pain Management Clinic in Oxy, capital of America, 95% of all Oxy came from Florida, and that is where the opiate problem started in the early 2000s. That's right. They're pill mills in Central and South Florida. That was the drive. That's what you do. Back in the early 2000s, you would get in a car with your buddies, get to a pain management clinic, pay your $250. They'd load you up with 180 of everything you wanted, 3 months supply, which would be like 540. Is that my math right? Yeah, my math's right there, I think. And it might be multiple medications. So you'd have, the Percocets or the Oxys. I mean, they were just handing them out like candy back then. But it'd be Oxys and benzos, Percocets. I know. I mean, I used to buy from a veteran. Actually, he didn't even go to Florida. I'm not going to get into all that. But yeah, anyway, yeah, so 540, what's the drug I'm thinking? I can't even think of it now. It's not methadone, it's morphine, 150. They were called battleships, battleship grade morphine, 150s, ABGs and Malincrots. All right, so anyway, so listen, every time I say I'm going to wrap this up, I don't wrap it up, so I'm going to wrap it up for real this time. Thank you, one and all. The new video is uploading tomorrow. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you like the shorter stuff better than the longer stuff. And at the end of the day, I mean, I'm gonna do whatever I'm going to do, right? But I do appreciate the input, and if I can tweak it a little bit, I will be happy to do so. So just let me know what you like, what you don't, what you're into, what you're not. And then we'll just go from there. In the meantime, if you're sober, stay that way. If you're high, don't beat yourself up. Tomorrow's another day. Every passing moment is another chance to turn it all around. So please, each and every one of y'all, take care. Have a great night, and I will see you with a video tomorrow. Maybe a live stream again. I don't know, maybe. But Tuesday at the latest, for sure. Count on Tuesday. I will live stream at some point. Okay? Thanks, guys, for hanging with me.
Hey, Bill, I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flick up. Bill, I'm in the mood for a change up. I leave the city and return with my change up. They got amnesia, don't remember how they played us. They wanna knock me down, but somehow I just stay up. Look, straight from the mud like Ruby. Straight to the stage, they love me. I understand they hungry, but please don't hate, that's ugly. I've been sliding, shaking, moving. I've been popping in my city. Shawty say she love the way we do it with me. I be too turned up to ever give a fuck. I ain't come to argue, let a nigga fuck. They been talking pennies, I need bigger bucks. About to catch a flight, I need to switch it up. Got that black boy joy, might do my dance on him. Take no disrespect, might put my hands on him. Hit this chicken, now she wanna marry me. But she gon' need some closure and some therapy. Came back to the city with my bank account on F. Giving rappers hell, I know they happy that I left. Hit the south in winter, I just put down my deposit. 82 degrees, I left that jacket in my closet. Bill, I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flick up. Bill, I'm in the mood for a change up. I leave the city and return with my change up. They got amnesia, don't remember how they played us. They wanna knock me down, but somehow I just stay up. Hey, look, came in with the what's that? Left out with the who she. Laying game like 2D, I been kicking shit like Bruce Lee. Margarita to the brim tip, black denim need a slim fit. Same people that I flex with be the ones that I'm in the gym with. I'm a living legend, you a dead cause, and I'm dead ass. No, I'm dead, right? Leaving early, but I'm here night. Long and short to keep the head right. Teed up out in Malibu, got sand all in my good shoes. Press a nigga with the pessimism, but I only came for the good news. I am the show that they came for, hitting the target I aim for. We been discussing the contract, just telling they get what they paid for. I am not fucking with poverty, really it started to bother me. I need the yacht with the property, they come with the view that you gotta see. Came up from the basement, hit the rooftop with a passion. Bad bitch with some good credit and a good sense for the fashion. Dope blowing with the left hand, ass gripping with the right hand. Uber share to the airport, I'ma hit you back when my flight land. I'm in the mood for a switch up.